Hey, this is the video for 5.9, Impacts of Mining. So go ahead and check out the overview and set up your guided notes. So a couple of factors to consider before we discuss the types of mining is we need to determine the value of the ore. We need to determine the abundance of the ore. For example, in this area, we have a much higher abundance than this area. And as the abundance decreases, the costs of extraction or digging that up are going to be far more expensive. We also need to consider the operation costs, and that includes medical costs for the workers and also costs to restore the land back to its original state. So we have these are some of the reserves that we have globally and in the United States. These numbers are not, you're not required to have this memorized, or I wouldn't really even pay that much attention to it. Just understand that the United States has a lot of reserves of some minerals and no reserves of other minerals. We have exhausted our aluminum reserves, and globally we are running out of a lot of these metals. So here's some terms that you need to familiarize yourself with. So this is like a cross-section of the land. These represent trees, soil, rocks, and our metals. So the overburden is this area right here. It is the overlying rocks and soil. Now the ore, you heard me mention ore before, you may have heard ore. It is the rocks that contain the mineral deposits. Like, for example, aluminum, which is the metal, is contained within bauxite, which is the rock. You should really familiarize yourself with the word bauxite because that does show up. We have tailings, and tailings is this part. It's the leftover waste product after you remove the minerals. Now here are some examples of mines. We have these four are surface mines, and we have a subsurface mine. And I'm going into each one in a little bit more detail. So mountaintop removal is when we use explosives to expose the coal or other minerals, but basically you're blowing off the entire tip top of a mountain. Can lead to cancer because people can breathe in the particulate matter. All of the dust that is generated can get into areas that are populated, and if people are breathing it in, it can cause respiratory illnesses. It can also cause soil erosion in case there's any sort of, can cause soil erosion because you are removing all of these plants, which act as a sponge and a stapler. And this can lead to property damage if there is any sort of flooding. I will say that mountaintop removal is the most destructive, at least on the surface. It's visually the most obviously destructive type of mining. It's also very difficult to reclaim this back to its original state. It can also cause a trophic cascade because you are completely destroying this habitat and all of the feeding relationships are going to be impacted. An open pit mine, like this example, is you remove the overburden to get at ore that is deeper down under the surface. There can be water contamination from the tailings and the overburden, and I'm going to go into this water contamination later on in this video. You can also have, obviously, habitat destruction because you are removing plants and soil. There are some open pit mines. These are pictures I took in my hometown. The top one is an active mine. This used to be a road, a country road that was now dug up. This is a gravel mine. This is literally a gravel pit. A lot of the mines, at least in my state, in Minnesota, a lot of the mines are either gravel mines or gravel, like little pebbles that you see, or it is iron mines. The other type of, or this bottom picture shows a mine that was closed, and this has been closed this was an active mine. This looked like this when I was younger. So when I was in high school, this was the mine on the edge of town, and it has been abandoned for, 20 to 30 years. So this is what it looks like. They've done no reclamation. They literally just stopped digging. So another type of mine is a strip mine, and it's when you just take a layer of overburden off the top. It's when the ore is really close to the surface. You remove the overburden, obviously, to expose the ore. It can lead to water contamination because, of course, this overburden, these tailings. Also, it is habitat destruction because you are removing plants and soil. And it is expensive because of the reclamation process. Because you have removed this the soil, you have to replace the soil and try to replenish any sort of organic material, and also try to replant the trees. So the last type of surface mine is a placer mine. And you might not know what a placer mine is, but you may have seen it before. It's when you look through river sediments to find little specks of gold. If you ever seen any Old West movies and you see somebody panning for gold with the little tray in the water, basically they're separating the gravel from the little specks of gold, and that is one of the ways that gold is mined. Now, it can generate turbidity downstream because there is a lot of sediment pollution, and that can lead to biodiversity loss because photosynthesis is impacted. Also, it can lead to water pollution because there is mercury that is often used with placer mines, and that can impact the range of tolerance for that. Water pollution can impact the range of tolerance, causing many organisms to die out. And for humans, we can have neural damage because when mercury is in contact with water, it can become methylmercury, which is very toxic, causing neurological damage. Now, the subsurface mine, which is this one right here, you wouldn't really know a subsurface mine because they're very well concealed. They're underground. You dig tunnels in order to get coal, like seams of coal that are far beneath the surface. This is a problem for the workers because you are digging down underground. There's a lot of particulate matter that is built up, and this can be inhaled, and it is definitely a major factor for coal miners because a lot of them do get respiratory disorders. There's a lot of physical safety as well. Because you are digging into the earth, there's a chance that there could be a mining collapse. And these physical conditions are quite strenuous for the workers. Also, there's a potential for water pollution because of acid mine drainage. And acid mine drainage is what I've been talking about in the other slides. Let me explain what acid mine drainage is. So this represents like an abandoned mine. Okay, so it's been closed off. You have mine tailings that are sitting there, and oftentimes, especially when coal is involved, you're going to have iron sulfide that is present. And this is also called pyrite, if I'm not mistaken. But it's going to be sulfurous tailings. And then it rains. And the water comes in contact with this sulfur compound. And then it can lead to water pollution because you're going to form sulfuric acid. So anytime you add, this is something to remember, when you add something that contains sulfur with water, you get sulfuric acid. Okay, sulfuric acid, H2SO4, commit that to memory. And that sulfuric acid is then going to drain out into a body of water. And that's going to lead to biodiversity loss because the pH drops excessively, and it makes the conditions in the water, it is outside the range of tolerance for many aquatic organisms. So what I would like you to do is respond to this check for understanding. I would also like you to practice. Explain how an abandoned coal mine can impact the hydrology of an ecosystem. I hope that this video was informative. I thank you for your attention, and I will see you soon.